Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rebecca McClaskey, and this is video number 3 in a series of 3. And we are with Kent today. So, the first video we started off with imprinting, what that is, and how that informs bonding, relationship formation, attachment. And then took that to the next level and talked about the plasticity of sexuality, so preferences, predilections, and choices around your attraction. So I was, talking to Kent a little bit about these two components and how they're kind of guiding forces in our lives. But there is a concept of consciousness. So let me just lay this out here, and then we'll get into it. So essentially, if there's some biological, instinctual, inbound components, such as imprinting and the chemicals that go with that, then sort of coalesce as preferences. When it comes to choosing relationship and attraction, kind of at what point does instinct turn into intention?
Okay. So what I think you're asking is where does your choice around who you're going to interact with come into being?
Yes.
More or less? Okay.
Yes.
So before we even get to that, I think we need to also just remember that your entire existence is involved in a whole bunch of feedback loops.
Okay.
Right? And so saying that choice comes into it here is kind of like saying, where does the circle start?
Chicken
right?
egg.
Well, the egg came first before that, right? There were eggs long before chickens.
Okay, where does the circle start?
Where does the circle start,
okay.
Right? So if we sort of restructure the question and in terms of how does what we sort of think about it as your consciousness, how does that inform who we mate with? Okay, I think we can get some traction with that. Okay. So one thing that we've kind of come to realize is that we have this capacity to sort of refuse things, and so this is kind of thought of as a free won't. Free will not.
Free will not. Okay.
Free will not, right? So there's a number of options that are offered up to us that we sort of say yay, or nay, and then yay. Okay, and the yay is essentially us not saying no to it. Okay.
Right. So prune out a lot of pieces
until the unwanted, right?
We get into the congruent environmental stimuli that makes our bodies go.
Yeah, like whatever hooks into us,
okay.
Right? So if we wind up, in a situation where we've sort of tuned ourselves, whether it's instinctual or intentional or a combination of both, or whatever, we're sort of tuned to be attracted to someone. Okay, that's what's going to synchronize with our awareness, right? And whether or not that's conscious awareness is almost irrelevant, right? We're going to notice that person, or that group of people, or that chocolate cake, or whatever it is, that we sort of have this interest in, okay? And that interest is underpinned by, what we had for breakfast, and who we were with last night, and what our current conditions are. There's all these factors that are going to go into that, right?
Right.
So these environmental conditions will hook into our predilections, and then those predilections will say, oh, these options are available. Which one do you want to pursue, right?
And so when you said you tune in, there is a kind of more esoteric term out there, attunement, like really sinking into another person, another being, and then that feeds into your body. So is that part of the feedback loops you were talking about, attunement?
Yes.
And if so, how?
Well, first of all, everything's part of feedback loops. You can't escape the feedback loops. Like literally, like being an organism is means that you are part of the process, and you are a process, and processes make you up.
Okay.
It processes all the way down and processes all the way up, right? So it's always about process.
Right.
So you don't get out of the feedback loops. What was the original question?
So the original question was more in a, well, I think you answered it in the esoteric sense. We say we attune or we are attracted towards these, the predilections. So the environmental pieces hook into what we've already, would you say, neurologically established in our bodies?
Neurologically in general, but even with just organismically, like what our organismic sort of openings are, what our organismic attunements are, like sort of where our dials are already set,
right.
Okay, where the organism, where the environment meets those settings, okay,
right.
That's where we're going to synchronize into. That's what we're going to notice. That's what we're either going to choose or not choose.
Right, lean into the receiving. So my other question is, let me give a scenario. So I show up to this party, I choose to go out, and then spontaneously I'm like, that female over there is so attracted to her. And traditionally in my life, my preference is towards males. So that is definitely just a spontaneous kind of piece that happens there. So if we're going to describe this in terms of consciousness point, where the circle begins and ends, what language would you put around that just spontaneous attraction? Like, what's happening to
How
me?
would I describe it?
Yeah.
How would I describe it in terms of including your conscious states?
Yes.
Okay, so that female entrained your attention.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So there's lots of things out there that are getting processed by you as an organism that don't sort of make it into the sort of golden circle of consciousness, right? Don't make it onto the Cartesian stage, as
Right.
Dan Dennett might say,
Right.
right? But some things do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so then it becomes a question of what things make it onto the stage for you to either accept or reject.
Okay.
Okay?
Nice.
And the things that make it onto the stage,
Right.
like we're talking about, things that you are already tuned into noticing, things that interest you, right? Like you're much more likely to notice a chocolate cake
Right.
as opposed to a cockroach
Right.
if you're hungry.
Yes. Unless I maybe was raised in Tanzania and cockroaches are a delicacy or something. But I understand.
It's not absolute, right?
Right, not absolute. So I love how you said that, kind of like there's background things happening and then there's things brought on to the foreground. And once those come into the foreground, that's when our conscious minds or our whatever choice is comes in and says, nope, 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 yes.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yes is just not saying no.
The yes is just not saying no. So again, attraction and sexual preference and imprinting are all pretty powerful components of us as social creatures. And if you have more questions, please post them on our Facebook page. And thank you so much for stopping by. I'm Rebecca. Keep it sexy. Bye.